Hey VicTube, it's Ashley at Bookish Realm, and I'm sure you guys have already seen the first video if you've watched it. If not, maybe I should link it below. But I am about to do a full-blown discussion of Dear Martin by Nic Stone. So if you have not read this book and you're looking for the non-spoiler video, it will be down in the description box below. If you have read the book and you're interested in my thoughts about some of the specific content related to the book, keep watching from this point on. All right, hey guys, so as I stated before, this is my book discussion of Dear Martin by Nic Stone. I have already done a non-spoiler review of this book, and this is going to be more of my in-depth thoughts. I'm going to already assume that if you're watching this video that you have read the book, so I'm not going to do a brief synopsis. I'm just going to kind of jump in and kind of talk about some of the things that I really found interesting about this book. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and say the most interesting aspect of this book to me was the dynamic between Jared, Manny, and Justice, who are, well, I wouldn't even really consider Jared to be necessarily a friend of Justice. He's kind of like a friend of Justice through Manny, so they're kind of acquaintances more than anything. That's the perspective that I got, because at the end of the day, Justice just don't F with Jared. Like, I don't care how you flip it or how you put it, like, he just doesn't, because Jared does some really ignorant things in this book. And I think it comes from a place of not knowing. You know, if you would know better, you would, if you knew better, you would do better. Like, that's the saying. And I think if Jared knew better, he would do better. And one of the scenes that really stuck out to me, and it's funny because I was talking to somebody about this morning. It was a scene in which Jared came into the classroom, and I think that Justice may have just gotten into Yale. I think, yeah, he got into Yale, and he called his friend SJ, told her and her family. They were really excited. He comes to class the next day, and Jared comes in extremely pissed, saying that, you know, I have a topic I want to talk about. How about these schools and universities, or colleges and universities that have a quota to fill, and when people like me don't get in, it's a problem because they're choosing people who are not as qualified because of the fact that they have a quota to fill. Okay. I've never disliked a book character as much as I dislike Jared in that moment. Like, I ended up being okay towards the end of the book, but in that moment, like, I almost hated Jared's guts, because as a black female who got into an Ivy League school and a lot of prestigious universities and colleges, that was the exact same problem that I faced when I was in high school. Like, being told that you're only getting into schools because you're a minority and these schools have a quota to fill is like so much cause, like, it's like fighting words for me, because while there is affirmative action, I'm not going to sit here and be told that the only reason why I accomplished what I've accomplished is because I'm a minority. Like, nothing that I have ever done has been handed to me on a silver platter. When it came to my grades, academics, volunteering, like participating in school organizations and making sure I was a good candidate to get into a good college or university, like, I did that on my own. I just happened to be black and a female. Like, I can't help that that's who I was born to be, or that's how I came out. Like, that wasn't my choice. I didn't ask to be brought into this world, but I am in this world, and I was going to make the best decisions that I could possibly make for myself. But that quota nonsense and the affirmative action nonsense, like, people still think that. I just want to let you know, like, that is as insensitive as it gets, besides calling someone out of their name. Like, that was just, I literally had to put the book down and walk into another room and calm myself down, because it pissed me off that much, especially knowing that Justice, like, as a black male, had worked so hard, had high SAT scores, ACT scores, good GPA, well involved in school, and got into Yale, as if he couldn't get into Yale if he wasn't a black male. And, you know, SJ brings along a very important point, and this book deals a hell of a lot about privilege. And people don't like to hear that word. People don't like to say, you know, oh, I'm not privileged. Like, we have the same opportunities. Everybody in America has the same opportunities. No, we don't. Some people are able to make more of their opportunities, but you can't genuinely feel like people start at the same starting line. Like, the kids who went to this school were paying over $3,000, or no, was it over $3,000? It may have been over $30,000 a semester. That's what it was. Over $30,000 a semester to attend this elite school where they made sure they had up-to-date textbooks, they had the appropriate technology, they had resources, they had scholarship meetings, they had information about how to apply to school. You can't say that someone who goes to a school where the textbooks are 10 years out of date, they don't have technology, they're not really motivated, they're taught that standardized testing was not built or made in their favor. Therefore, when they go and they start doing standardized testing, they feel overwhelmed, they get testing anxiety, they don't do well. You can't say that you don't have privilege. It's not a matter of it's your fault if you have privilege. There's nothing wrong with that. I never want to come across and say like someone who has privilege, like you're a bad person because you're privileged. No, you were just blessed enough to have opportunities that maybe other people didn't have access to. But you can't deny the fact that there is privilege. I'm privileged. I am privileged in a way that some Black women are not privileged. I grew up in a household where education was first. I was taught from a very young age that you have to be all about your books no matter what the circumstance is. I was taught from a very young age, like, books are the way to go. Books will open up doors for you. Books will lead you to worlds that you've never known. It will give you experiences that you've never thought were possible. Just that small thing, it doesn't even have to be monetary. But because I had two parents, well, three, technically. I had three parents growing up. Because I had three parents in the picture who all believed in that and preach and push that message, I had an advantage that other kids that I went to high school with that were just like me, that looked just like me, that acted just like me, taught just like me, did not have that advantage. So great introduction to privilege in this book. It pissed me off and it made me so passionate at the same time. Like, I'm super passionate when it comes to the discussion of privilege. And I look at privilege, like I said, privilege is not something that people should feel guilty about, but it is something that you should recognize. That if you have privilege, you've had advantages that someone else has not been able, to have access to, which is why I feel like when you have that privilege, give back to your community and give doors to other people who may not have had them or will not have that opportunity. Give back, especially when you have had that privilege. So this book definitely, like, that one section of this book was like, oh, I'm right here with you all the way. I feel you. I understand you. Like, oh my goodness. So privilege is heavily discussed in this book. If you did not know it, you should know it now. That is a big topic of discussion. One of the other things that I really felt passionate about while reading this book was the discussion of interracial dating. Like, we often feel like it's such a normal thing now, and because it's not as heavily looked at, and you see interracial couples all the time. I'm here for it. I'm all here for it. However, there are some people who are still not here for it, and that's on all sides of the spectrum. It's not just, and I'm just speaking in terms of Black and white people. It's not just white people who may feel like, you know what, I'm not down for that. It is also Black people out there who are like, I'm not really down for it. I've had friends whose parents have told them, don't you dare bring home a white boy or a white girl to this house. And it's sad. It's really sad because at the end of the day, we're all people, and Justice has to go through that with his mom. Like, hey, you know what? With everything that's been going on and everything that has happened, I know you don't want me to date a white girl, but at the end of the day, guess what? This is how I feel. She makes me a better person, and I'm willing to throw it all on the ground because I care about this woman and she cares about me, and it's a wholesome relationship. And I really like that she crossed that line of us, looking at an interracial relationship. We also got that in The Hate U Give with Star having a white boyfriend. Like, I love that topic is being brought forward. And in some communities, it's a big issue, like, especially when Black women see a Black man with a white woman. Like, it I don't have a problem with it because at the end of the day, love is love. And you can't tell somebody who to love and who not to love. And if that's who you have fallen in love with, power to you, because I'm sitting here like, dang, I wish somebody would just look at me. So like, I'm all for it, but it's interesting because these are discussions that are still happening. And I definitely appreciate the fact that both Angie and Nick have brought these things to the table. Another aspect of this book that I really enjoyed was the surprise twist with Manny ending up shot and dead. I did not see that coming. Like, I kind of figured when the blurb said like crossfires that there was going to be a shooting, but I didn't realize that someone was going to end up dead. Like, that was oof. And at that point, it's kind of like you kind of see Jared come around and you kind of put yourself in Jared's shoes, because at first you're like, I don't like Jared. Like, Jared can suck it. Like, I really did not like Jared at all. But in the same regard, I think that he lost a friend too. And although he was not correct in a lot of things that he did and he said in his ignorance, like, you know, he did care about this person, but he didn't know sometimes that he was crossing the line. And he had to be told, like, hey, you're crossing the line. And Jared comes around full circle and understands exactly where he went wrong in his friendship, in his view of the Black community. And that I could appreciate. I mean, I wasn't 100% rocking with him at the end, but it's great to see that he actually grew as a character. And the last part that I really loved about this book, not only just the writing and the fact that it was such a short book, but had such a punch to it, was the fact that there's a dichotomy in justice. And I know a lot of Black people, and maybe even, I've never really talked to any of my white friends about this. Maybe I should actually ask, because I have talked to my Black friends about this, where you have experiences where you're fitting into what people would sometimes call two worlds. So Justice comes from the hood, but he goes to a prestigious high school. And in that sense, he's crossing two lines where he has Black people from his neighborhood who are kind of telling him, like, you know, so you think you're better than us because you're up at this preppy school or whatever the case may be. And, you know, you think that your education's going to get you somewhere. Don't worry, you'll be right back here with the rest of us, blah, 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 blah. Haterade. And then he ends up at this prestigious high school that is predominantly white, and he doesn't fit in with the white kids either. You know, the white kids are kind of like, you know, you're cool, but at the same time, like, we don't get you. Or they expect him to act a certain way. Or, you know, they have certain stereotypes because they haven't necessarily been taught that these stereotypes are incorrect. So it's phenomenal. Like, looking at that and understanding that piece of that was phenomenal for me, because I went to a high school that was evenly split 50-50, half Black, half white. I think maybe towards the latter half of my high school years, it became more predominantly Black, but for the most part, it felt like it was kind of like an even spread. But I was the AP IB kid, so I was in a classroom full of kids who looked nothing like me. I would probably be one of two Black kids in that class, because it just was not a lot of us that were taking that track. So I also had that split dichotomy of, you know, like, Black kids telling me, oh, you think you're better than all of us because you're in those AP IB classes, blah, 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 which was not true. I just took the classes because that was just my thing. Like, I loved school and I needed something to challenge me. So that was the route that I took. But then I would also end up in a classroom full of people, and I'm like, I felt like I didn't fit in. Nothing about me like screamed I fit in with this group. So it definitely hit home. This book essentially hit home for me, which is probably why I love it so much, because so many of my own personal experiences felt like they were wrapped up in this book. It was just, it's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm about to go, like, literally when I get finished filming, I'm about to go to Books A Million and get my own copy of it, because I can definitely see myself rereading it. And it's such an important book to have on my shelf that I think I need to have it. It has to be there. And I definitely can appreciate it. So if you guys can tell, if you have watched the non-spoiler review, I definitely gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's wonderful. I hope you guys have enjoyed that ramble. Some of it, I'm sure I was extremely passionate about and just it brings all the feels for me. This book definitely brought all the feels. But if you have not read it, definitely pick it up. Although I'm assuming that if you watch this video, you have picked up this book. Because if you haven't, I pretty much have ruined like 2/3 of this book for you. And it's not a long book at all. So hopefully I didn't ruin it for you. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, make sure you click the subscribe button. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you're interested in following me on social media, all of my links will be down in the description box below. Ta-ta!